Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope the weekend is going okay wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. As always, thank you very much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. I say I hope the weekend's going okay. I bet you, like me, are feeling a little bit, what's the word I want to use? Disappointed, frustrated, worried a little bit, because we have got our first proper injury of the international break, and it's a big one, unfortunately. Well, it's for a big player. We don't know the extent of the injury yet, but it's for a big player. You, of course, know that I'm talking about Gabriel, who limped off yesterday, ironically, of all places, at the Emirates. It's not like he's had to fly halfway across the world and put a load of air miles into his body. He's done it at Arsenal in the second half of Brazil's 2-0 win against Senegal yesterday. Yeah, it was a bit worrying. Definitely. I got a text message, WhatsApp, sorry, yesterday. I was just sitting down with my family having dinner, and I got a WhatsApp from my mate Santino, if you're watching. Hi, Santino. Messaging me saying Gabriel's just gone off injured. It's like, oh my God. I opened up my phone, looked at the timeline, and it's just Arsenal fans streaming down the timeline, complaining and worried about what they had seen. So it was worrying. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the picture there, just one of the pictures of Gabriel limping off around the Emirates. He went down. Brazilian players immediately did the signal that he needed to come off. He sort of walked off behind the goal in front of the North Bank and did the long walk back to the tunnel. And you can see how disappointed he looks there. He's holding his sort of groin area. Carlo Ancelotti afterwards, Tom Canton was there from Football London. He asked him about it, and Carlo said he had a problem on his abductor. The medical staff will have to check tomorrow, which is today, of course. We are really sorry for this, really disappointed. When players have an injury, I hope they can recover well and recover soon. So that was a sort of immediate reaction from Carlo Ancelotti to Gabriel's injury. And it's really difficult not to be worried about this, given, of course, the week that Arsenal got coming up. Not just a week, but the next few weeks that Arsenal got coming up. We don't know how bad this is. So, you know, we could get good news. Who knows? But when it's a muscle injury like this, it's tough to look at it and think, you know what, he's going to shake this off and he's going to be fine for Tottenham. You know, Tottenham is less than a week away. Well, it's a week away, sorry, today. And it's very difficult, even with the most positive sort of outlook, to think that Gabriel's going to be okay from doing something fairly significant to his muscle, which you could see in the way he went off yesterday, to think he's going to be available for Spurs. And then, of course, it's Champions League against Bayern Munich on the Wednesday, and then it's Arsenal versus Chelsea on the Sunday. So it's a massive week, three crucial fixtures. And in my mind, probably along with Martin Zubimendi, the one player Arsenal really could do without losing. He's that important now to this Arsenal team in terms of his leadership, his quality, how effective he is in both penalty areas. Now, sort of combined to that is we had the Riccardo Calafiori news yesterday as well, that he was being sent home from Italy, hadn't recovered from the hip problem in time to be involved in their game against Norway. That one doesn't sound as bad and as worrying. Rino Gattuso, the Italian coach, was quoted on it, and he said, look, Calafiori has left the training camp. We tried, but he had a few issues. I thank him for his commitment. He stayed here for a week. He could have played perhaps, but it wouldn't have been fair to him or to Arsenal. So that's quite reassuring, what Gattuso said there. You know, the fact that he could have maybe played, but it sounds like Italy have done the right thing there. They haven't risked him. Like he said, it wouldn't be fair to Arsenal. I think Italy know that this game is pretty much, it's a dead rubber for them. You know, although technically they could still qualify, there's got to be a 9-goal swing against Norway. And quite frankly, that's just not going to happen. So Norway, whatever happens, are going to win that group and are going to qualify. So why risk Calafiori there? So fair play to Italy for that decision. But those two sort of combine when you're talking about Calafiori and Gabriel, because if Gabriel was going to miss out at the weekend against Spurs, you would think maybe Calafiori is an option to replace him at that left centre-back position next to William Saliba, and then you could play Hincapié maybe at left-back, you could play Miles Lewis-Skelly at left-back. If both of them were to miss out, then you're in that sort of situation of, okay, what are you going to do? Do you play Hincapié at left centre-back? He's never played alongside William Saliba in that position before. And then keep Miles Lewis-Skelly. It's not as easy a decision, I think, if Calafiori is also injured. I've got a question here from Irish Gooner on the Discord, and a lot of people have been saying stuff like this in sort of reaction to Gabriel's injury. He says, after Gabby's injury tonight, is it time for the clubs to step in and stop their big players playing in games that are pointless? Qualification game is different, I understand, but players like Gabby have their seat booked to the USA next year. Friendly games are pointless, especially for Premier League players with their crazy fixture list. And as I said, lots of people have been saying this. Look, in an ideal situation, yes, of course. You know, with our club hats on, of course, that's what we're going to say. But I think it's very, very different if you're going to ask the players that, and you're going to ask the internationals. They're not going to look at it as pointless. You know, yes, they've qualified for the USA, but they've got about 6 more games to go to play to warm up for the World Cup. And this was a big game for them against a Senegal team who've been in excellent form. They're not going to view it as a pointless game, and Gabriel's not going to view it as a pointless game. He wants to, you know, he's only just really broken in to the Brazil setup in the last sort of 12 months or so. He wants to nail down that spot and make sure he's a starter for Carlo Ancelotti, a new manager, of course, at the World Cup. So he's not going to view it as pointless. We as fans were looking at, oh, it's not a qualifier, it's a friendly. Why play and why risk it? But it's very, very different if you're asking the players and asking the managers of those. So it's tough. And the clubs, Arsenal don't have any leeway on this. They don't have any say. As soon as they're called up, there's nothing Arsenal can do. Yes, you could say, oh, Sir Alex Ferguson used to do the dark arts and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, in reality, that's just not often going to happen. And as I said, they just don't see this as pointless. You know, Brazilian players do absolutely everything to make sure they can play for Brazil. As we would, you know, if we were footballers, we'd probably look at it completely different. As fans were saying they're pointless, but if we were a footballer and we'd spent our career and our life trying to build up to make sure we could go to a World Cup and represent our country, we wouldn't look at this as a pointless game. So you've got to look at it from their point of view as well. I know the clubs pay the wages and all of that, but it's just I can see the argument. I can see why so many people have been saying it, and I know lots of people have. But I think when you look at it from a different point of view, I can understand why the players do it and they want to play and they don't see it as pointless. So yeah, it's a worry. Let me know your thoughts on it. I'm sure you all will in the comments in terms of Gabriel, the injury, what we should do. I mean, it's such a busy period now. And I've seen like stories online of if Gabriel misses 4 weeks, these are the games he's going to miss. And it is worrying when you look at the fixtures. It is definitely concerning, but I still think we need to just wait a little bit at the moment to get a bit of an update to see what this is, because there's no point looking at the worst case scenario at the moment. We're just going to have to wait and see how it all pans out. I mean, it's very unlikely you would think he's going to feature maybe next week, but maybe it's too early to start worrying about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, like I've seen people doing. Okay, elsewhere in international action, it was a good day for Martin Zubimendi. Scored a lovely goal for Spain in their win yesterday. It really was a good goal, this, from Zubimendi. When you look at it, it was a brilliant pass. I think it was Ferran Torres who made the pass. Initially, I thought it was Mikel Merino, but I think it was Torres who played the pass. But why Zubimendi was that high, he was the most advanced player on the pitch at that point, and he got it. But the first touch to sort of move the ball across the defender, and then the run to go across the defender, so the defender couldn't, it was either going to be a penalty or the defender was going to have to let him go like he did. And then the first time finished over the goalkeeper. It was real top quality stuff from Zubimendi, something a forward would be proud of. I think it was an excellent goal. I knew Zubimendi was going to be good, like really, really good. I've said this before, but there's so much to his game that I just think is so much better than I thought it was going to be. And it's certainly in an attacking sense, you know, that goal really represented a lot of what I mean by that. Just go and watch it if you haven't seen it. Again, the touch, the run, the finish. It's just not, it was not what I was expecting when Arsenal signed Martin Zubimendi, to see that sort of stuff. But what he does in the final third, when he does pop up in that area, he's so much better than I really thought he was going to be. And I just think he's been an absolute worldie of a signing, Martin Zubimendi, in all areas that he plays. He's just an absolute class act. So that was really good. Zubimendi played the whole game in that match. Merino started, played about 70 minutes in it, and got a yellow card. Didn't score for once for Spain, Mikel Merino. David Raya was on the bench, of course, for that game. We do have other fixtures today to worry about, and with Gabriel getting injured, I think we're all going to be looking at that France game against Azerbaijan. France have qualified now, of course, for the World Cup, and just sort of, please, Didier, please just rest William Saliba. Don't start him. Don't play him. You don't need to. You've qualified. Give someone else a go in the squad so you can have a look at them ahead of the World Cup. I think every Arsenal fan in the world will be thinking that exact thing right now. So they're in Azerbaijan, in Baku, of all places, a place Arsenal know very, very well, of course. And then we've got the England boys in action over in Albania. I really hope we do not see Bukayo Saka near this pitch from the start. Maybe he'll come on off the bench, but given he played every single minute of the game on Friday or Thursday, whenever it was, I don't think he needs to be on the pitch for this game. But we'll wait and see. Declan Rice and Eberechi Eze, of course, also in action. We'll see what Thomas Tuchel does, but that's the remaining fixtures we've got today. We'll see a few more to come on Monday and Tuesday before we get the players back, and we can really start to look ahead to the Spurs game at the weekend. Right, a few comments and questions now before we wrap this one up for today. Matthew's getting in touch here. We were just talking about Eze when we're in sort of response to what I was talking about yesterday, with kind of the decisions facing Mikel when it comes to Eze when Martin Odegaard comes back, in terms of how he gets in a team, where he gets in a team, how you play him, all that sort of stuff. Matthew says, getting the best out of Eze and Odegaard, both playing, will require a change of shape for the team, the return of an overlapping left fullback. And this is an interesting one. I remember asking Mikel about this at a press conference a few weeks back. When I was talking about Eze playing on the left, and maybe does it matter who plays behind him in terms of where you're going to play Eze? So if you're playing Calafiori, for example, do you play Eze more in a central role? And because you're not going to get anyone playing on that overlapping. So if you play Calafiori, do you play a winger like Martinelli, who's hugged his touchline a little bit more? But if you're playing Hincapié at left back, who is a more overlapping left fullback, as Matthew suggests here, then you can play Eze in that left-hand side and let him do that sort of freer role from the left-hand side operate. And I asked Mikel about it, about the sort of partnerships, and we haven't had the chance to actually see if there are those partnerships that he's got in his mind yet because of the injuries that we've had. But when everyone does get back fit, if everyone does get back fit, which touch wood, they will very, very soon, we might start to see those relationships form. Is it going to be a sort of left-hand side of maybe Trossard, Martinelli and Calafiori, and then maybe Hincapié with an Eze or a Trossard? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I know exactly what you mean, Matthew. When you look at it and you think if Eze is playing on the left and it's Calafiori behind him and you've got Odegaard in those central positions as well, then maybe it's going to become a little bit too congested in there, a little bit crowded. But if you've got the overlapping fullback, that will allow Eze to play in that role, and it will give him the freedom to come inside. So I absolutely get what you mean. And I think you're right. I think it could well be something that we do see and that Mikel has in his mind. A few more here on Eze. Now we've got Amari at the top there, says, Eze has always been a left wing, left attacking midfielder hybrid. He has never been a traditional central 10. I'm not sure where this myth that he's a central player came from. At Palace, he was 3-4-3, 5-4-1 hybrid system, where he'd interchange from left wing to a left attacking midfielder depending on the phase of play. He's clearly been brought in to play left wing for us. He's just temporarily filling in for Odegaard while he's injured. Same with Elise, who was right wing, right attack midfield hybrid at Palace, but is now a right wing at Bayern and is doing amazingly. He just needs a traditional overlapping left back to hold the width and allow him to drift into the half space. Hincapié is perfect profile for that. Just what we were talking about. It does feel like Hincapié Eze is that sort of partnership on the left hand side that we will see and will work, fingers crossed. Anton has got in touch also on Eze. Eze will be playing more on the left when Odegaard is back and in form. And Lewis says, I must be blind. How are we going to suggest picking Eze over our most informed player in Trossard on the left? Eze has 1 goal and no assists, I think. Trossard probably in the best form for the club. He's got 2 goals, Eze, and he has definitely got at least one. No, he's got 2 assists. Got the brilliant assist for Martinelli against Manchester City, of course. And he also got one for Gyökeres in the... was it Notts Forest when Gyökeres scored that one when Eze got down the left from Calafiori's pass, crossed it in, and Gyökeres put it in the central area? I think it was Nottingham Forest in the win there in Ange Postecoglou's first game. But I know what you mean, and I don't think Trossard deservedly has his place on the left-hand side at the moment. So I don't think this is something that would immediately happen if Odegaard is straight away fit and straight into the team. I don't think, in my mind, Mikel would drop Leandro Trossard. I think you would have to wait until Trossard maybe has a little bit of a dip in form, and that's what you want, because when players are on form, you play them. And if they have a little dip, then you can change things and someone else has an opportunity to come in and try and seize their place on the left-hand side. So I agree. I don't think it's something that will happen like that. I think it was something that will happen naturally if, Trossard, which he will, it always happens, has a dip in form. At the moment, he deserves his place in the team. He's been fantastic. He's scoring goals. He's contributing. Deserves his place in the team. So it's something that, will have to happen naturally. I would have to say. So thank you, all of you, for getting in touch on that really interesting stuff as always. Right, we're going to have to just sit back and relax now with our fingers crossed and hope we get some decent news, either from the Brazil camp on Gabriel or certainly watching the internationals that we've got to watch today, that we don't hear any more injuries. Everyone cross their fingers and hope that was the this is one sort of bit of bad luck that we've had, and hopefully it's not going to be too bad when we hear the news about Gabriel, and hopefully the news coming out of Italy about Calafiori is as assuring as it has looked initially so far. Right, that's it, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, whatever you are up to today. I'll be back to do it all over again tomorrow as we enter the final week of the final international break of 2025. Take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.